Hi everybody, it's Sunday night, about 8:15 I think, and Harriet and I have just come to bed. It's done quite a lot today, all things considered, so I'm pleased with myself. And I wanted to come on and explain exactly what happened on whatever day it was, Wednesday, when I was literally, I felt evicted from the hospital. So the endoscopy has shown a hiatus hernia, which I had before. It's back again, hence the burning in my throat. I've already got precancerous cells there. So it isn't helping any to have my stomach come up into my gullet again. And it's a pretty bad situation all round. The burning, when I went in as an emergency, the burning in my stomach and my throat was phenomenal. I felt as though I was being, listen to this, I felt as though I was being eaten alive, my stomach, as though I was being eaten alive. The ambulance crew didn't want to take me in. They said, you're going to be sitting on a chair for so long, you know, we're chock-a-block with emergencies. Your heart is sound. Wait until Monday, see your own doctor, get your meds started again. So they gave me 3 options in the finish. They were a pair of bullies as well. You can either stay here and see your own doctor on Monday, or can't remember what the other one was, or you can we'll take you in, and a certain ward, AMU, acute medical care, I don't know, they've agreed to take you. So I said, well, I'll go. They said, well, you're going to be waiting, you're going to be sitting on a chair waiting. I said, that's okay, I'm sitting in my bed waiting here, and the pain is terrible. So they took me in, and everybody was lovely. They were so nice there. There was one particular nurse, not going to name names, but there was one particular nurse, and she was absolutely lovely. She showed all the care and patience and everything that you should expect from a nurse, but she went over and above. She got me jellies to help soothe me inside a little bit, and I know I screamed out in the chair because the pain was that bad. I screamed, and they came running, but she was really good. And I was sitting in a chair, but it was a comfortable chair. It was a recliner with a, you know. They gave me intravenous something. What was it? To soothe my stomach, like a PPI. They gave that intravenously. Anyway, we waited there for some hours before being taken through to the ward, to go onto the ward. There was quite a few of us. And so I got a bed on the ward, as you probably saw in the video, bed number 13. And there I was, being given my pain meds on time. There was no problems at all. The nurses were really nice. The doctor was nice, although I was the one who had to say, what's going on with me now? Is this going? It is, isn't it? What's happening to me now is very reminiscent of when I had this perforated stomach ulcer some years ago, and that was caused by H. pylori, which basically H. pylori means that you are being eaten alive by bugs in your guts. And they reckon, you know, H. pylori is probably something that's been in your system since you were a child. So there it is, active again, I felt. So I said, you know, the H. pylori, and I know it can be treated with triple medications. So they started me on that's it, amoxicillin, 2 to be taken twice daily for 5 days. So I've got to take another one of those in a minute. And in the meantime, I can't even kiss my kids because the H. pylori bug is transmitted by saliva or, you know, bodily fluids, so I can't kiss my kids. They kiss my hand. So I was there for a few days and they were just giving me my meds, calming me down with various meds, having me again on the drip, which I guess was a PPI again to get into my system. And that was fine. There was a lady in the bed next to me. This is just a by the way, and it was on the day that I was evicted, actually. There was a lady in the next bed, bedbound. That lady had been sat in the chair all night long. She had not got into bed. Nobody put her into bed. She was in the chair, head down, all night long. My son and a friend came up, and the lady had 2 visitors, granddaughters or whatever, and I mentioned to my son, I mentioned that she'd been sitting there all night like that, and that if only people knew, but not my business. I'm not interested really in what goes on. I'm just interested really in myself. But the 2 females who came in to see her took this lady into the bathroom that was shared between 4 of us, I think, although the others were bedbound, so it was just me. It was just me at that point. And they took her into the bathroom, even though she got personal care from the nurses, and brought her back out, changed. Well, when I went into the bathroom, about half an hour later, I had to go in because I'd had some lunch. I'd had some custard. And I had to put my hand over my mouth. I was throwing up. So I dashed into the bathroom, lifted the seat, and oh my goodness, the mess that they left when they looked after their relative. Oh my goodness. I threw the lid down, flushed the chain, dashed over to the sink and vomited. There was mess all over the floor. dirty nightshirts and stuff on the floor. Oh, it was vile. So I came out and I went to the nurse and I said, look, I've just been in the bathroom. I've had to vomit into the sink because of the mess in the lavatory and it needs to be cleaned up. It's disgusting. So fair enough, somebody came within, no time at all to clean it. So that was that, but, they should have been prevented taking the lady in there because she was in no fit condition to go in there. That was up to the nurse, wasn't it? Anyway, when the doctors came to see me, they talked about the colonoscopy, they talked about the hiatus hernia being repaired, didn't give me any firm dates or anything else. Then the next thing I know on that afternoon, the nurse comes to me and says, you're going to be moving on to a ward. I take it the gastroenterology ward. So I said, okay, fine, I'll get my we didn't have much stuff there because I didn't take anything in. Okay, I'll be ready to go. And phoned my kids and said, I'm going to be moving on to a ward. I'll let you know where I am as soon as I know. So with that, my sons, my daughter who wasn't very well, they all thought everything was in hand and they could go about the business, and there's things going on in my family that I'm not at liberty to talk about, illnesses. So I'm not the only one who needs attention at the moment. So anyway, that was that. I was ready to move on to a ward. And then about half an hour later, the same nurse comes up to me and says, you're going home. I said, no, I'm not. You've told me I'm moving on to a ward. Change of plan. You're going home. You've got to go home. I said, well, how can I go home? The state I'm in. So that was the nurse. Then another nurse came and said, you're going home. I said, I'm not going home. I can't get in anyway because my kids have got the keys. And then a member of the surgical team came up and explained that, yes, I agree that the hiatus hernia needs to be urgently addressed. I agree with you. He didn't say you're going home. He just said, I agree with you. And, we'll have to fit you in on the list somehow. And off he went. And then another woman came. She was vile. Absolutely vile. I don't know who she was. She was a Filipino nurse dressed in dark blue, a senior nurse, I'm guessing from that. She got right in my face, and I mean inches away from my face, like that, and said, you are going home. I said, no, I'm not. I've been told I'm going on to a ward. You are going home. She didn't say it like that. She was shouting her mouth off that far from my face. I said, please don't shout at me and get out of my space. And she suddenly realised what she was doing, I think. She said, I'm not shouting. I said, you are shouting. Everybody's looking at you. The whole floor must hear you. Well, you're going home. I said, I can't get in. My son's got my keys and he would be the one to pick me up and take me. Well, why has he got your keys? all my kids have got keys. I came out without my keys, without my bag. Why has he got your keys? I said, because he goes in the mornings to look after the cats. You know, they do it between them. And she said, well, you can get yourself home and look after your own cat. If you don't go, she said, we're going to move you. And you'll be sitting in the discharge lounge on a chair until somebody comes for you, whether that be today or tomorrow. And then the nurse came up and said, you know, I said, I can't go, I can't get in. And then another senior nurse in dark blue, I take it's her colleague, he came and he was very pleasant, very nice, very quietly spoken. He had a man with him in a T-shirt. I don't know who he was, whether he was medical, whether he was security or what he was. But anyway, this nurse explained, you know, and I said I should have been moving on to a ward. This is what I was told initially, and this is what I told my kids, and this is why they aren't around. And he said, well, things change. He said, and we need your bed because there are people here waiting who can't move. You can move. And so I agreed then. He was very pleasant. He was very nice. I can't fault him. And I said, I will phone my son. In the meantime, I learnt afterwards, somebody had already phoned my son and was very rude to him on the telephone. Very rude. You'd think I was some sort of terrorist or something. So anyway, I agreed to go to the departure lounge, and then I was told the discharge lounge, and then departure lounge. And then I was told that the discharge lounge was full. There was nowhere for me to sit. And so I went into the waiting room of the ward I was on, which was where I was before I went on to that ward, if you get me. So I sat there and the man in the T-shirt was going around asking anybody if they wanted a sandwich or something to eat, would they like. And he did come up to me and said, you know, what would you like? Have something. So I said, well, my son might come. He said, it doesn't matter, just order something and, you know, if he comes. So I did, and but my son came, got a wheelchair and wheeled me out. He said, they are, Mum, the most disgusting people I've ever come into contact with. He said, when I came down to fetch you, I walked past the desk and they said, oh, you come to fetch your mum? And he said, well, yes, we've got no option, have we, but to leave. He said, they all started to laugh. This is the nurses. They started to laugh. So we had to go past the nurses' station on the way back. So I thought to myself, I'm just going to avert my head. Don't want to look at them. But as it happened, they were all backstores doing something else. So we got out of there, and you know, came back home. It took my son an hour and a half to drive back to get me because of the rush hour traffic. And then he had to bring me home and drive all that way. It wasn't that long back, but he had to drive back. And he's looking after a partner who's very ill at the moment. And they knew that, the nurses. They knew the situation. but they didn't care. So that was my experience of a certain hospital in Birmingham. A certain hospital, I might add, where I'm to have surgery on the 13th of February. Let's hope they don't bump me off. I'm not joking. I'll be back later. Oh, I also have an appointment on Tuesday at the endoscopy clinic. I think that might be to discuss the colonoscopy. That is going to be at another hospital. Everything's at 6s and 7s. Actually, it's Sunday, isn't it? The hospital were to ring me today at 12:30 regarding a pre-op. No such phone call came through. I've only just remembered. But as I say, let's hope on the 13th it's not the last of me. I've got no confidence. None. Back later, everybody.